Hey guys, we're going to talk about food anxiety today. So my name's Olivia and I'm the owner of Yum Gluten Free. And food anxiety, or rather the fear of getting sick, was something that I really struggled with when I was diagnosed with celiac disease in 2010. And I recently found out that I'm not alone. There's quite a few people who regularly struggle with food anxiety. And it's really that fear of getting sick. So just a couple of things I want to be clear with. I'm going to be talking about my health and my experiences through celiac disease and managing my food anxiety. But I am not a health professional, and it's really important that you speak to your health professionals before making any changes in your diet or anything like that. So I hope that this helps some of you. So I'm going to tell you a bit about myself and my story, how I was diagnosed and how I managed to cope with my food anxiety. And then please send questions through as well. I've already gotten a lot of questions that I'll be answering as I did an Instagram live earlier as well. So I was sick for 9 years before finally getting diagnosed with celiac disease in 2010. I was essentially written off as a hormonal teenager who had a lot of anxiety. And even though I did have those stereotypical celiac disease symptoms, vomiting, cramping, diarrhea, those weren't my main concerns actually. I have really severe panic attacks. I have really severe chronic fatigue, sinus infections, low to no immune system. Those were the main things that were controlling my life. And not so much your natural gut responses to celiac disease. We all know celiac disease is extremely hard to diagnose because there are so many symptoms. It kind of went cyclical for me. I would have really, really low points where I would be really sick for a long period of time, and then my body would sort of deal and recover. So after 9 years, my body stopped dealing and recover and completely dropped off. I actually was doing exchange in Australia at the time. I'm American. And I had to leave early, come home, drop out of uni, and that's when I started journaling. I knew what was going on was not anxiety. I knew anxiety did not rule my body the way that something did. And I started writing things down. I started making the connection between food and my response. The problem was that it wasn't necessarily, or it wasn't 100% a direct response to food. So it's so tricky. And the symptom that actually got me diagnosed was telling my physician that it felt like I had. So, just making sure I'm still there. So, that symptom was obviously the villi that were being damaged in my gut. So, once I was finally diagnosed with celiac disease, I didn't take it very seriously for the first year. I had no medical support. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I would cheat in little ways, like have a sandwich and eat the meat out of it and things like that. So I had no idea about cross-contamination or anything to do with that. And again, I did that for about 10 months until I was on another trip with a friend, and I got so sick, I realized I needed to start taking my health seriously. I needed to learn more about this condition, and that's when I started my No Crumbs Please life. My physical health improved nearly instantly, but the more that I learned about celiac disease, my psychological health just dropped off because I became extremely fearful of getting sick, especially once I started feeling better. Hi! Thanks for saying hi. If you have any questions, again, we're talking about food anxiety and the fear of getting sick. I'm just going through my story, my experience quickly, how it ruled my world, and then I'm going to talk to you about ways that I manage my food anxiety today. So my food anxiety really got to the point where I was glutened a couple of times, and then of course your anxiety increases every single time you have a bad experience. And it got to the point where I couldn't eat any food that wasn't prepared by me. And then it got to the point that I was feeling sick all of the time. So I was even afraid to eat my own food in front of other people because I already felt sick before I started eating. So I was just waiting to throw up, essentially. I just felt nauseous 24/7. It's a very debilitating way to live your life. Now, I actually started dating my now fiance during this time. If you want to date and you're experiencing this, obviously we're going to go through ways to help manage this anxiety, but My boyfriend at the time was really awesome, and I told him that I was going through some anxiety and that I wanted to do other things and not go out to eat, and we did. He was completely relaxed about it. We did lots of adventuring and a lot of things that didn't include going to restaurants for several months until we finally did. So that developed my time to relax around him and get comfortable with him before putting myself into a stressful situation for me. Fortunately, he was really great about it, so I'm so grateful for that. So yes, my food anxiety was to the point that I couldn't go anywhere. Even just thinking about eating made me feel nauseous. And my gut, or my anxiety healing or management, hi Raylene, actually started subconsciously. I didn't realize I was actually taking steps to health. It's only now when I look back that I can see how that was part of my recovery. So the number one thing that I can recommend every single person do, whether you have recently been diagnosed with celiac disease or you were diagnosed a decade ago and you're still struggling with this, is to do some gut healing. I believe that a lot of my anxiety came from eating food and then that I knew was gluten-free and then getting sick and saying to myself, am I psyching myself out of eating? Am I controlling this? Am I actually getting sick? Was I contaminated? Where I think I still had so much damage in my gut that my body was reacting negatively to other food as well. And it was completely psyching me out. But I hadn't learned about gut health at that stage. What I did that changed my life, not that I knew it at the time, was a program called Whole30. So there's lots of programs out there like this. Whole30 and Autoimmune Paleo, AIP, are the two that I really recommend. Whole30 is just 30 days. What it is completely free of dairy, grains, so gluten, sugar, alcohol, and preservatives. I think that's everything. So during that time, those are your inflammatory foods. So by cutting those inflammatory foods out, it gives your body a chance to start healing. So during that time, a lot of bone broth, make sure you're taking probiotic, digestive enzymes, eating fermented foods. This would be a really good time before you start something like Whole30 or Autoimmune Paleo to talk to your naturopath or your dietitian, talk to your GP if they're across gut health, and make sure that you're doing things, getting recommendations of ways that you can be supporting your gut and healing your gut and your intestines and everything during this time that you're eliminating the inflammatory foods. After this period is when you can start reintroducing foods one at a time and seeing if you have a gut response. So I found out that I was having a response to eggs. So I later learned that eggs are not a permanent intolerance for me. It's a temporary intolerance, but I need to know that when my body is in a stressful time that I may become sensitive to eggs. So that is something that I have learned and that I can manage from here forwards. There's lots of food intolerance tests I can recommend as well. Some are permanent, so your permanent food intolerances, and some are temporary. So things that because of damage or something that's going on, you're reacting to right now, but you might not be intolerant forever. Again, this is how I've experienced it. You need to make sure you speak to your health professional before you make any big dietary changes like this. So Whole30, so start healing your gut. That is a really, really big one for recovery. Okay, I've got so many talking points here about people that wrote in questions earlier in the week. A huge one is eating out. So two things. One, when you do something like Whole30, where do you start with the intolerance testing was a question that just came through. I'm going to do a write-up after these lives, and I'll put in a link for one that I've done, but I would really recommend talking to your dietitian or your naturopath or your GP. They'll definitely have food intolerance tests they can recommend. So eating out is a huge one, obviously. So first of all, when you're doing something like Whole30 or you're doing Autoimmune Paleo, you're probably not going to eat out during that time. Now, that's not a bad thing because it's giving you an opportunity to not put yourself in a potentially stressful situation. So you're calming everything down and you're giving your body an opportunity to fully heal and hopefully not be experiencing that anxiety as you'll be preparing your own food during that period of time. Now, after that's out, you're done with that. Obviously, you're going to want to go out to eat, and you're going to have people who want to go out to eat with you. And food is the number one way that we celebrate things across the world, which is why this can be so debilitating when you're experiencing food anxiety and this constant fear. So a couple of things. One, definitely call ahead. Always call ahead. There are a few things more scary than when you go to a place with a group of people, you have no idea if you can eat there, and you just start asking questions to a waiter or waitress who might not have any of the answers. So that is only going to make you feel uncomfortable, insecure. You're going to feel like you're in the way. The next person can't place their order because you're asking questions. And it's an opportunity that you have where you don't have to do that. There's things you can do to prepare in advance. So I always call ahead. Try not to call at a peak time. Don't call 1 p.m. on a Saturday, but call during the week, or call just right at the beginning or right at the end of breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And I always ask to speak to the manager. So just say I have food allergies and I'd like to speak to the manager about my questions. Obviously, celiac disease is not a food allergy. However, hi Nanda. However, by saying to someone on the phone, I have food allergies, I want to speak to the manager, instantly they understand that. They might not understand celiac disease straight away. So make sure you get to the person that you need to speak to who's going to best be able to help you. Go through everything. So take your time, ask all your questions. Say, have your staff dealt with people with food allergies and with celiac disease? Do they understand cross-contamination? Do you have separate fryers for things with and without gluten? Are you willing to toast bread, gluten-free bread on foil or under the grill? Or can I substitute the toast for something gluten-free? Go through anything. Ask about drinks. Ask about desserts. If they've got milkshakes, ask about ice cream. Yeah, that's my biggest recommendation. And then when you go with your friend or family, whoever it is, you can feel confident that you're actually prepared to eat there. Having confidence is going to really positively put you in a really positive place when you walk in that restaurant, and it's going to help reduce your anxieties before you sit down instead of increasing your anxieties before you sit down because you're thinking, what if, what if, what if? The other thing that I do is if you're making a booking, ask them to write celiac on the booking. And then when I get there, I'll say, hi, yes, Olivia, table for 6. It should say celiac as well. I have had multiple times where the kitchen staff have actually reserved a clean fryer because they knew a celiac was coming in, and that way I could have food, gluten-free food, that normally would be prepared in a contaminated fryer, totally clean, and then I can enjoy that as well. And that is just so exciting. And when you hear something like that, there's nothing you can feel but relief. You feel so grateful during that moment, and you feel like they actually get it. So definitely make sure they put celiac on the booking, and make sure you remind them when you come in, tell them that you are the celiac. Another big thing with eating out is going to be, especially in your local area, call a whole bunch of places. Take some time over a weekend or a weekday or something and call a list of places that you're potentially interested in eating at and start asking the questions and make notes of the places that you feel answered confidently and that you feel that you could eat there. That way, when you have a friend or a family member that says, I really want to go out this weekend, where can you eat? You can tell them. They don't have to deal with I want to ask Olivia, to hang out this weekend, but I'm not sure where she can eat. I know she's really uncomfortable and all those things. You can confidently say there are places that you've spoken to and you're comfortable eating there. And it just brings everyone's anxiety down, which is obviously what you want. You want to be with people who are stressing out for you as well. So make a list of places, get on their websites, look at their menus, get excited about what you can eat. If you're feeling really positively before you go to the restaurant, you'll feel so much better when you sit down as well. So those are my huge ones for eating out. I also, in addition to all of those things, making sure even when you call ahead, write celiac on the booking, sit down, say it again to the waitress. If they haven't written it down, to say, would you mind making a note for me? This is for someone with celiac disease. I also take a digestive enzyme before I eat anything not prepared by me. This is completely up to you. Do your research. Make sure you're taking something you're comfortable with. Speak to your naturopath, dietitian, GP. I take Glutagard. It may help with any incidental cross-contamination. It may help with any incidental cross-contamination, be digested quickly and get out of your body as quickly as possible. So, that's one more step in my very stringent process that I do. Thank you. Yeah, so we've got lots more ideas as well. A huge one that I got a lot is, what about eating at family or friends' house? So for anyone who's just getting on, we're talking about food anxiety and the fear of getting sick. Again, I will always recommend that you speak to your preferred health professional before making any changes to your diet. These are just some management techniques that I have done, and I'm in a free place now where I was ruled by my food anxiety for many years. So these are just some tips that I have. Feel free to ask any questions as well. What I'm doing is going through some questions that have already been sent through from some comments previously today and earlier in the week. So another one is eating with family and friends. So this one is so hard, I know, because this is such a personal time whenever you're sitting down and enjoying a meal at someone's house. And it's different than speaking to a waiter or waitress because you don't want to offend anyone. So again, the very first thing that you need to do is educate. So talk to your friends, talk to your family. If they insist on cooking something, there's a couple of things. I give them something really simple that I can eat, like whole roasted chicken, lemon, rosemary, and olive oil, baked potatoes with nothing on them, steamed vegetables. And then I ask if they put anything, spices or anything like that on any of the ingredients, just to leave them on the counter for me so I can have a look when I get there. Now, obviously, you need to be pretty comfortable with someone to ask that. I completely appreciate that. So if this is maybe the first time, maybe this is a new friend, someone that you haven't hung out with before, have them over to your house and show them a couple of things, and that's a really good opportunity for them to ask questions and you to answer them while you're feeling safe in your own home. Show them things like your soy sauce that is gluten-free, and normally soy sauce contains wheat. That's something that blows people's mind, blew my mind for sure. I had no idea, obviously, prior to getting diagnosed with celiac disease. So that way you can explain a lot while you're feeling comfortable. If I'm explaining celiac disease when I'm in an uncomfortable situation, it only increases my anxiety. So have them over, offer to host. If they insist on bringing a meal, I also ask that they can bring their own utensils as well. And I'll probably tell them that, everyone else can share, but I'm probably not going to have any just because I'm preparing my own food to make sure that it's safe. People are generally pretty understanding of that, and people don't want to make you sick either. So that's a big one. I often host. If you're going and doing something in a group setting, maybe it's some sort of work event or it's someone's birthday. Someone told me recently and they wanted to go to a buffet and, they weren't making any of the decisions. The celiac wasn't making any of the decisions. Don't not go to events because you can't eat. I know it's uncomfortable to eat beforehand and sit there not eating, but enjoy a glass of wine or your drink of choice and enjoy that time together, and tell people, your friends and family at least, just let them know why and where you're coming from, and just that you'll enjoy yourself is a really positive way you can talk about it, saying, I will enjoy myself so much more if I eat beforehand and just have some wine and hang out with you guys tonight. And people respond to that really well. So I found. I often do that. I eat beforehand a lot, especially if it's a situation that's out of my control and I'm going to be hungry, so I'm going to eat. I always have snacks. You can ask anyone that's known me for any period of time. My bag is full of snacks. So I never have to go hungry. So, if we're out and about and I haven't checked anywhere and it's lunchtime and I'm hungry, always have a snack, something nutrient dense. You can go to your health food shop. You can make your own, of course, but it's nice to have something sealed, to be preserved for long periods of time. Actually, you can go to the regular grocery store these days. There is so much available. I try and get something nutrient dense, so with nuts and seeds. something high fat, so it'll keep you fuller for longer. If it's a mealtime, especially that you're not able to eat, I found that to be really, really helpful, and I hate being hungry. So, let's see, we've got some other questions here. So let's say you've done these things and you're in a situation that you're still feeling uncomfortable in. I really recommend seeing a therapist or a psychologist to help you during this process to deal with your anxiety. Now, I had someone that told them, that their psychologist told them, oh, I'm sure you can have a little bit of gluten, like it won't kill you, get over it kind of thing. Okay, go see someone else. There will be tons and tons of professionals out there that are able to treat you and are going to want to treat you, and they're going to respect your condition. Just like the restaurant, call ahead. I promise you, if they really want your service, if they're available, obviously, they're going to give you 5 minutes on the phone, and that'll give you an opportunity to explain just briefly why you're coming in, what you're going through, and if they feel like they're going to be able to help you. Again, if you're just coming on, we're talking about food anxiety and managing the fear of getting sick. I have celiac disease. It was something that I really struggled with. Big tip is speaking to a therapist or psychologist, and this is with any health professional actually. Ask if they'll give you 5 minutes on the phone so you can explain what it is that you're going through and see if they're going to be the right person for you. They're going to want you to be a regular client, so if they don't think they can help you, I really doubt they're going to have you in that first time. Plus, by having that 5-minute chat on the phone, it saves you that emotionally exhausting process of going through all of this, the whole hour in person, to then find out they're not the right person for you. And it saves you money as well. So I'm all about the 5-minute chat. Yes. Other things that you can do without seeing someone is going to be mindfulness and deep breathing. So there are a couple, and your psychologist will probably, my therapist recommended a couple of these apps. One of them is going to be one called Headspace. So Headspace has a really great series of 10 steps. They're like, it's over a period of 10 days. I can't remember the time frame. I think it's just like 10 minutes or something really quick and easy, where it actually teaches you the practice of mindfulness, which is something that you have to learn. It doesn't come naturally. So once you've done those 10, you can choose to pay to continue with Headspace specifically, or there's lots of free apps as well. So I use Insight Timer. They've got like hundreds, maybe thousands of free guided meditations. Just search for anything it is you're looking for: fear, anxiety, sleep. I use a sleep meditation every single night before bed. I still struggle to fall asleep. Energy, focus, you can search for anything. So Insight Timer, I'll add that as well to when I go through and write everything up afterwards. And then deep breathing is really important when you get to that time when you're sitting down and all of a sudden, you may have done all of the work beforehand, but you sit down and you think, oh, something's happening. I'm not feeling quite right, even if you haven't even ordered yet. Your deep breathing is going to give you the opportunity to check in, figure out if what it is that you're feeling is physical or a subconscious thought coming to the surface, what if sort of thought. And then if you have learned these techniques, through your health professional, through your therapist, or through your mindfulness practice, if you've learned techniques, you might be able to actually hold on to that negative thought and get rid of it and be able to proceed with confidence. Acupuncture was a big one for me. I'm actually a total needle phobe. I was terrified to do acupuncture, but I'd heard so many amazing things. I knew that I had to suck it up and do it, and I had a really awesome acupuncturist who helped me so much. She really helped make me feel comfortable, so that way I didn't walk into her room and immediately start sweating, which isn't helpful when you're there for anxiety. It also helped with digestion, and it really helped with sleep. Oh my gosh, it was life-changing for me, acupuncture. Let me think, was there anything else that I had listed to speak to you guys about first? I don't think so. So I've got some questions that people have already sent through. Oh yeah, one that I got a couple of times were people asking about feeling sick due to other foods. So as a celiac, the only ingredient that you cannot have, gluten is a protein that exists in multiple ingredients. So you need to learn all about that. I can go through that another time, but there are cross-reactive foods that mimic the gluten, that may mimic the gluten response in your body. So this is not 100% of the time or 100% for everybody, or it might not be consistent. It might just be while you're going through gut healing and things like that. So your cross-reactive foods, there's a really awesome post from the Paleo Mom. I will share that as well. She's got a great chart. If you want to look up cross-reactive foods for celiac disease, Google that with the Paleo Mom and you'll see her chart. It's fantastic. So it's instant coffee. I've seen coffee a couple of times as well. I've later found out that I'm actually intolerant to coffee. Dairy, corn, rice, oats, millet, and yeast. So essentially it's grains and dairy, which are two of the big ones when you do Whole30 or autoimmune paleo. Those foods are getting cut out. So those are your inflammatory foods. They are causing inflammation in the body. You might find, even if you're someone who doesn't have celiac disease or any other autoimmune condition, you might find that when you drink milk that you feel inflamed or phlegmy. That was me my whole life. I didn't put the two together until later, but so those cross-reactive foods you're going to cut out during, if you do Whole30 or autoimmune paleo. There are tons of Facebook groups that for both Whole30 and autoimmune paleo with just thousands of awesome recipes, good support groups as well. Lots of Whole30 groups will start at the beginning of a month. So you can start with a group of people, so you've got support, and then you can share what you're going through and what you're eating and get ideas, and so you're not getting bored, and you can get excited about what other people are having and preparing food. The last really big thing for me, and something that I still struggle with, is I have trigger situations. I can be doing great managing my fear of getting sick and my food anxiety, and something can happen that all of a sudden it just flips my stomach and I can feel that fear building. So for me, a confused waiter is one, which is why you need to call ahead and make sure that everyone's on the same page, and mention it before you sit down as well to the host. A confused waiter can really throw me for a loop, even if the manager then comes and says, oh no, it's totally under control. Yeah, we are all across celiac disease, not a problem. Once I've had that trigger happen, it can be very hard to remove that. Again, that's something mindfulness and your therapist is going to help you work through removing that fear once something has been triggered. Something that I still work through. The other one, and this is going to sound really peculiar to people who haven't experienced this, but even if I'm at a 100% gluten-free restaurant, if someone that I'm with, sorry, I have a dog licking my arm. If someone that I'm with has a concern with their meal, my brain can go into, oh, should I have a concern with my meal? Maybe I do have a concern with my meal, that kind of thing. So again, learning how to capture those thoughts and remove them is critical to be able to recover in that moment and enjoy a meal that's, if you've done all of your due diligence, should be 100% safe. Anything else that I can recommend for you guys? Does anyone have any questions? I know I've answered a lot of things through questions that were asked previously. Again, food anxiety is going to be unique to everyone. These are just tips that I have and ways that I have been able to manage my own anxieties around food. Gut healing is a really huge one. Speak to your dietitian, your naturopath, your GP. So much bone broth. So much bone broth. Every day have bone broth. Really, really help nourish that gut. Calling ahead, like I said, is a huge one. Get excited about going out. Call a whole bunch of places in your city. And talk to the managers and make notes and have a list of where you can eat, and get on their websites and check the menus and get really excited about where you can go. And that will completely transform your ability to sit down and enjoy a meal. Take a digestive enzyme with your meal. Make sure you do your own research. This is only in addition to having done all of your due diligence beforehand. But I take GlutenGuard, so something that may help if there is incidental gluten ingestion, to just get rid of it as quickly as possible. You need mindfulness help, so that's going to be through your therapist, your psychologist. Spend 5 minutes on the phone making sure you're speaking to the right person. They're going to be able to assist you, and they're going to respect your condition before you go in for that hour. So Paula, hey Paula, she said, do you think having a special friend or partner to let you know you are starting to display signs of anxiety would help, having a buddy? Well, I can tell you that I feel anxiety much more quickly than I show it, I think. Sometimes my partner will sometimes ask me if I'm okay, if he thinks that something is going on, that I might be experiencing something. So for me, Paula, one of the things that was mentioned in the Instagram live I did earlier was having a partner or some sort of special friend who is confident with celiac disease or whatever your condition is and can ask your questions for you. It is such an amazing thing, and it really helps with your anxiety to have a support network, to have a support team who's across everything they need to be, has all the right questions to ask, and who can do some of the dirty work so you don't feel like you're all alone, because you're really, really not. You're really not. Especially if we're in a situation where we are maybe somewhere new and he can run into a couple of restaurants, I can run into a couple of restaurants, we come back, see who's seen what and what we think is going to be the best place for me to eat. You've got that team, so yeah, I mean, a buddy is imperative. That support is so important. Educating your family on your long-term health, I think, can help get them on board. I know that it can be difficult, and I know not every family situation is supportive. I know that not every partner is supportive, and I know that people can't understand what's going on inside your body. In a lot of ways, celiac disease can be a silent illness, because there's a lot more that happens than just a gut response. So yeah, a buddy is imperative for sure, and getting them on board and being able to have them ask a lot of the questions really just boosts your confidence, and it just makes you feel that you can just have a sigh of relief and relax a little bit more knowing that you're not alone. So yeah, awesome point. If there's not anyone else that has any questions, I will do a big write-up. I've typed up quite a bit of stuff from other questions that people have had and my answers to them. I'm not here to say to anybody that this is something that's going to change overnight. These are step-by-step tips that through healing, both physical and mental healing, hopefully will get you to a stage that you can eat again confidently and enjoy yourself, and something that should be really, eating food and celebrating through food should be a really pleasurable experience. And we can get there as long as we're taking all the necessary precautions. So we're all in this together. Please touch base anytime. I welcome people emailing me, direct messaging me. A lot of these things I brought up were things that people had directly contacted me and asked about and wanted me to talk about today. So I'll do this post and I'll make sure to include a lot of those things I said I would include, so some of those links. And then if there's anything else that you think I've missed, just bring it up and we can talk about it another time. All right, thank you so much, guys. Have an awesome Sunday. Bye.